loss because a lot of things are prescriptive, whereby you say, well, okay, if there's a corruption, jail the corrupt. In this case, where children go missing, where people are using them for different things, because like we said, there's a myriad of issues here. True. There's a child trafficking thing. There's organ trafficking that goes on, which we cannot deny is a reality. There are people who so people want babies, and I remember Jerry Mwangi did this story. BBCI and talked about the fact that they are brokers. It sounds crazy, but that children are sold as though you were selling cattle. That somebody can go into a hospital and her baby will be taken from her, and she's been told that this baby has died. So then where do they go? Well, somebody's trading them and somebody's taking these children. These are things that actually happen. But when we see missing child and the posters put up, where do these children actually go? Yeah. And what do we actually do? What kind of conversation do we have? Because it is one of the cases where we say, okay, fine. Are the police aware? Should we be told if a child is seen wandering around? How many of us take the responsibility to say, excuse me,
why are you
here by yourself? Who do you take this child to? Do you take them to the nearest chief? Do you take them to the nearest police station? Do you take them to your house? What do you do with them? If you take them to the nearest police station, I've seen a case where the police officers keep them in the police station until they're able to do the due diligence, and then they find whom they belong to. But then they feed them there. Do they keep them in a cell?
Because let's ask a question. Do you know of any safe house near your area?
No.
I don't either. I know of a children's home, but is that a place where I take a child who's been abandoned? Because you see, if unfortunately we have to compare, if you compare with what happens in the children's services, it is so clear that even when a parent is fought or is seen to be mishandling a child, the children's services will come and take custody of that child until that time when they're able to sort out the issues within the family, or foster care family is also clearly spelled out and structured. Here we find ourselves in a case where a child is clearly being mishandled, is being abused. That child decides to leave because of the abuse. As a community, as a people, do we know what we need to do when we see these things? Do we know where to go to? Do we go to a police station where a child will be put together with adults in a cell? What should we do? That's the question, actually. That's the question.
The numbers are on our screen this morning, 0732-142-653, 0732-142-650. We want to hear from you this morning. Is this a bigger issue than we're able to actually handle? And what do you do? Are we hearing more and more of these cases? This number has hit us in the face this over the last couple of days, and that we didn't realize that the numbers were so high. Did we know that children are missing at 23 per day for the last 15 months? Did we know that around the country, over 10,000 children have gone missing for whatever reason? Missing means they cannot be found, or that they have turned up dead, having been killed. And these are also the children who have been raped and murdered that we've seen have been found. And yes, boys and girls. And that we know that children have been trafficked and moved to other parts of, it could be the country, the world, whatever the case may be. Some of these have been attempted and have been foiled. But this number that we're talking about are the children that have not been found.
And you see the 10,000.
We're not talking about the ones that have been found safely. Say, we found him. No.
Have not been found.
They've not been found, or they've been
found dead.
They've not been found, or they've been found dead. These are the numbers that we're talking about. Did we know that this was such a terrible situation? And what should actually be done? This is the question that we're asking, because, man, I'm at a difficult place. I'm at a loss. A difficult place where you say, come on, what are we saying here? And who are these families? Who are these families where, if we're saying that it's one child per mother and father, it's talking about 10,000 families for who their children have been missing in the last 15 months. What is going on? And I think we're at the place where we can ask a question here, and it has to be a collective answer. It's not to say, well, the police aren't doing their job, and this government is terrible. No. But when a child is not there, if a child is gone from your presence for 3 minutes, where do they, what is actually going on? And I think this is a conversation that we want to open up today and to ask questions. Yeah, so we must ask at some point the Department of Children's Services, like you say, the police, chiefs, families, caregivers. There's a collective responsibility here. And so we'll have a conversation with you. But then also just a sad element that last week we did see the arrest of a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
A 15-year-old girl that was aiding and abetting in children moving. Now, was she a caregiver? But at a 2-year-old girl, and this is the one that she was found with, she was in the presence of a 2-3-year-old girl, and she was in the process of having this girl taken from point A to point B, and there was some money that was going to exchange hands. So she was moving children. She was trafficking children. And how many more are involved in this situation where we're looking at such staggering numbers and are not able to answer? Are we at a place where this one we actually cannot answer? This one you cannot blame the president.
Yes.
This one you cannot blame but all of us, where we're saying that if children go missing and we're not asking, and if we start to ask questions when the parents send out a cry for help, what do we do? What do you do when you come into contact with a child who is obviously where they need not be? Do we kind of say, okay, well, there's a child over there. I hope somebody picks them up and takes them to where they ought to go? What actually ought to happen? It's the case of missing children that we are discussing this morning, and actually asking the questions in terms of where are we as a society? Who could these children be? They were in a class somewhere. They were somebody's daughter, son. They were somebody's charge. Where did they go? And exactly what is going on with them?
I was just looking at some few things here, and according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights now, a missing person retains all property, legal and civil rights. Their rights cannot be seized, sold or automatically inherited simply because they are missing. Now, number two, what the law says is there is no waiting period to report a missing person in Kenya. Reports should be made immediately at the nearest police station to be logged in the occurrence book. There is also the fact that most of the time when you go in, there's talk or there are reports that you're told the person has to be declared missing until after 48 hours or 24 hours. So there is that,
hours.
and that is what many have picked up being said, I can only report after 24 hours. But here being told upon that point where you have determined that someone is lost, you go report it immediately. What the police will now declare as a missing person comes after, but reporting should be done immediately. Now, presumption of death, and unfortunately we have to talk about it, is if a missing person has not been heard from or seen for 7 years by those who would naturally be in contact with them, families can apply to the court under Section 118A of the Evidence Act or an order of presumption of death. This allows families to legally finalize affairs, settle estates, and manage property. So with all this, now you have the Law Society of Kenya that provides legal assistance in case you find yourself in court about this matter. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights investigates cases of enforced disappearances and state abductions as well. One would say they would help as well in tracing, where Red Cross as well comes in to assist in these cases of an individual who is lost. Also, Missing Child Kenya specifically handles missing children's tracing and support. So all these are agencies that come together to ensure that a solution towards these cases are found. But do we know of all these agencies that we would run to? And how approachable or how close are they to the communities for us to say, nilienda kwa ofisi ya Red Cross, or I went to the office of the Law Society or Missing Child Kenya to assist me with this issue?